I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not be afraid of the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. The title of tonight's Starborn show is called A Heavy Lift. And that is because you may be involved in something that is a little bit hard to do this week and have to have a heavy lift accompanying a great idea of yours, because you may want to follow an inspirational plan or an inspirational idea, and that is perfectly possible despite forces around you that may try to stop you. That's why it would be a heavy lift. And the thing that can be helping you out right now is that there are 4 planets in a grand trine in the air signs. And air signs are very creative and conceptual, and they're really good at communicating and coming up with all kinds of ideas. And that is what could be happening to you right now, because today the moon is in Libra, which rules partnership and peace and negotiation and even treaties. And it rules the law and all legal contracts. It also rules decorating and art and beauty and things that help people get along well with each other. So that's why it rules partnership. That moon in Libra is being trined by Pluto, a planet representing new and upper management in large organizations, government agencies and institutions who have their eye on the future, because that's what Aquarius rules. And so you could be looking for new partners and that can help you with an inspirational idea or plan for the future, because these 2 planets are being trined by 2 other planets in an air sign, Gemini, and they are Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, and Venus, which is now at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini. When planets are at the 29th degree, it means something is on or over. Well, Venus actually is trining the sign it rules too, Libra. So that makes these 2 planets in Gemini about twice as strong as they look, because Uranus is finally trining its own sign, Aquarius, where Pluto is, and Venus is trining its own sign, Libra, where the moon is. But the problem is that Venus at the 29th degree can mean that some partnership or contract or truce or some sort of romantic affair could be on or over right now. And that is because Venus is at the 29th degree of fate. And the reason why you could be enduring a heavy lift right now is because all 10 planets are being harshly squared or opposed by some other planet, including that Venus. But you can have a sense of controlled energy too right now, because there's another 4 planets in the fire signs, which are very dynamic, and they like to surge forward and move fast. So today the sun is at 8 degrees of Leo, and it's moving forward, but Mercury is also in the sign of Leo at 10 degrees, and it's moving backwards. So tomorrow, the sun is going to come up to 9 degrees, and Mercury is going to move backward 1 more degree, also to 9 degrees. They'll conjunct tomorrow at 9 degrees. And 9 is a number that's the highest of all the single digits. It's indicating something is finished, or needs to be finished. And so these 2 planets are trining 2 more planets, Saturn and Neptune, which are both at 2 degrees in Aries, and they are both retrograde, just the way Mercury is. So the 4 planets that are trining each other, and maybe giving you a lot of energy right now, of the 4 of them, 3 of them are retrograde. And that can indicate having to go back and start over, because Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, which rules new starts, but they're going backward. So you may have to reconsider some things right now. And I certainly think that as you reconsider something, you may realize that you've made a false start, or maybe even 2 of them this year, or more, who knows. And that is because all 10 planets up there, including the ones that are trining each other, are being harshly aspected right now. And that's why it's going to be a heavy lift. But if you have an inspirational idea, or you have a very fond plan, even if you've made a false start and you sort of need to rework it and go forward right now, that grand trine in air signs will help you. It's just that it's going to be a heavy lift because you're going to be facing pressure from outside forces. And that's the 10, because all 10 planets are being harshly aspected. And so it begins with 4 planets that are in a harsh T-cross among the cardinal signs. And so the moon today, which is in Libra, is opposing Saturn and Neptune, which are retrograde in Aries. And so there's sort of a clash there. An opposition usually represents a separation. Excuse me, what a time to sneeze. And these 3 planets are all being squared by an exalted Jupiter in Cancer. And because these 4 planets are sort of coming head to head with each other, 2 of them are retrograde and 2 of them are direct, but they're still in harsh aspect. It simply means that a move, or which is what Cancer rules, or a new addition to the family, which is also Cancer rules families, can be thwarted or can represent a heavy lift right now if you want to get that off the ground. And it can be due to jealous competitors who grudgingly would like to prevent that or slow that down. And that's because these planets are in a harsh T-cross challenging each other. And there is the hint of a separation. And it's actually not, there's nothing opposing Jupiter in Cancer, but that poor Jupiter is getting caught up in the middle of other planets that are opposing each other. Neptune and Saturn in Aries is opposing that moon in Libra. And so not everyone wants people, the outside pressures mean that if you're wanting to do something highly inspirational or really go after a fond plan or dream of yours, you're going to meet the pressure of outside forces right now. But that's why it's going to be a heavy lift. I didn't say they would succeed. I just said that you're going to run into people that will try to stop you. That doesn't mean they're going to succeed, though. Because the strongest planet in the heavens is that Jupiter in Cancer, because it's the only exalted one. And then there are 3 planets that are squaring each other in the mutable signs. And this is where there can be increased conflict in relationships now, because Mars is in Virgo. It's at 25 degrees today, and it is closely and harshly squaring Venus in Gemini, which is at that 29th degree of fate, meaning a relationship, a partnership, or a legal contract is either on or over, and this is a pretty close, harsh square. It would look like that was over. And then Mars is also squaring Uranus, which is in Gemini, and Uranus is one malefic planet, Mars is another. That's why I think there is a partnership or a legal contract or some relationship that has been in conflict, and it's over. It's not on, it's over. And so you have that to deal with as well. And that can simply mean that some people still, they want to have their way no matter what, and they're willing to go to great lengths, perhaps to prevent somebody from making a fond dream come true or having a better future. There's just some people that are like that. And then there's another 3 planets today that are in harsh opposition to each other. And remember, an opposition represents a separation, and they are in the fixed signs. And so that Pluto in Aquarius, which is at 2 degrees and is retrograde, represents new leadership that are looking to go into the future with other people who have good ideas about that. So if you have a good idea, you should hook up with new leaders who really want to go forward now, but they know they can't take a gamble on anything, so they need to get the right people in the right place. And that is why they are questioning current leadership. And that is because this Pluto is opposing the Sun and Mercury, remember, which are tightly conjuncting each other today, and Mercury is retrograde. So there can be some people who understand that new leaders or upper management, that wants to head forward in a new direction can be questioning the qualities or the qualifications of older leadership, and that older, well-established leadership could try to spread malicious rumors about anybody who is hired who is new, simply because they're jealous or competitive and don't want things to change. And this is among fixed signs. Fixed signs don't change. And so there is a threatening atmosphere here. And so if you were wanting to form a new partnership with somebody and you wanted to go forward with some new ideas, I think you could still do that, but it would be a heavy lift, because you would be encountering people that would stop almost at nothing to spread malicious rumors about either you and your idea or somebody else, simply so they could stay in power. And they really can't do that, but they could try. And so anybody who has to undergo a heavy lift right now to make an inspirational idea or a dream or a plan of theirs come true, okay, so that's the price of happiness. And it could be well worth it. It really could be. So if you are having to undergo a heavy lift and you're meeting pressure from outside forces and they're not friendly, you'll have to find a way to keep going. And I think that you can, because in this opposition among the fixed signs, yes, the Sun and Mercury have backup. They're being trined by retrograde Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but three of the four planets in the fire signs are all retrograde. They really do have to go back and start something over and do something a little differently. Whereas Pluto in Aquarius is part of the grand trine in the air signs. It has tremendous backup. And there's 4 planets in that grand trine in the air signs. So if you have a good idea, or you have a fond dream, or you're inspired by something, keep at it. Because even if it requires a heavy lift, perhaps when you do succeed eventually, you'll really value your success, because you sort of had to earn it the hard way. And that means it's going to really be yours. So keep going. All right, what does this mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Aries. For you, Aries, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. And that is because even though the Sun and a retrograde Mercury in Leo are trining your Sun, which means you may be very interested in taking a leadership position or following some other charismatic leader in a new endeavor, at the same time Saturn and Neptune are retrograde in your sign, and that simply means that you're going to have to go back and start something over. So if a former new start of yours, remember there was a solar eclipse in your sign this year, and there was another solar eclipse in your sign last year. So I think you would have tried something new in the last year or two, Aries. And if it hasn't worked out, I think that possibly you should understand that if it hasn't worked out by now, it's not going to. But on the other hand, Aries, you just might want to, you might want to discard some things that didn't work, and you might want to start over with people who have newer ideas that are more applicable to the future. And it could be that you just need to join forces with other people that are perhaps not as ardent as you are about getting started. Maybe they want to do a little bit more investigating about things. Maybe they don't have a big budget, or maybe your budget has gotten smaller and so you need to slow down a little bit. Well, Aries doesn't like to slow down because it's a fire sign. But there's three out of the 4 planets in fire signs that are trining each other are retrograde, including the 2 in your sign. You will have to go back to the drawing board on something, Aries. And actually, if you slowed down a little bit and you sort of went back to doing things that you're a little bit more comfortable with on your own terms, and so that would be like starting from scratch. If you went back to that, you might be rather pleased, even if it's a heavy lift, that you succeed better on your own going forward. And so if there is some sort of partnership that's ending, Neptune and Saturn are opposing the moon in Libra. Libra rules partnership, or if a contract is ending right now, because Libra rules the law and it rules contracts as well. You know, Aries, you might be better off in the long run if that happens, because it would challenge you to go off in a new direction, and that has never scared an Aries. Aries are just fine with that. And in the end, you would be better off on your own. And rather than sticking around on doing something that it's not on your terms, or the budget has been cut, or people have lost interest, and that would bore you to death, Aries. So you need to start off in a new direction, and I wish you the best of luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, this is a time, Taurus, when there's only one planet in an Earth sign, and it is Mars. And it is in Virgo, and it is trining your sun. But it is under harsh aspects, and that could sort of spill over into your life, Taurus, and mean that there are some things that you need to pay attention to right now. And it's the only planet trining your sun. It's not a happy planet right now. So you need to be a little bit cautious about what you do, because you could feel like you're the strongest person and you know what you're doing, and you can just march forward sort of to the beat of your own music if you wanted to. And the problem is, Taurus, that it's not going to work out that way, and it would be a terribly heavy lift if you decided to stick to something and have it all on your own terms and keep sticking to it. You would actually alienate yourself. There would be enough pressure from outside forces that you'd end up being alone. And a Taurus doesn't really like that, but that could happen, because that Mars, which is in Virgo and does trine your sun, it indicates, since Mars is a malefic planet, that you could have health problems, and the first concentration should be on your own health problems, Taurus, and how to solve them, and nothing else but getting that out of the way. So it would be a good idea if you slowed down and just tried to improve your own health right now, even if you had to back off and do that quietly by yourself. That would be a real good idea, because that Mars is squaring Venus, your own ruler, and your ruler right now, Venus, is at the 29th degree of fate in Gemini, being closely squared by Mars at 25 degrees of Virgo. And that simply means that a relationship in your life, Taurus, and it could be a business relationship or it could be a personal one, is either on or over, and it looks like it's over. And so, you know, there's only so many things that you can concentrate on at one time, and Taurus likes to concentrate just on one thing at a time, and they're good at that. And I think now you should concentrate on your own health and try to improve that. And Virgo rules our physical health, particularly the central nervous system, but it also rules our mental health. And it might be a better time for you to sort of relax, withdraw a little bit, and before you think of having a better future, maybe you need to recover from something that has been a little too much for you right now, and just slow down a little bit if you can. Besides, it's summer, you could do that. The Sun and Mercury, which is also retrograde, are squaring your Sun, and Pluto, which is extremely well backed up right now because it's part of the Grand Trine in the air signs, is in Aquarius, and it too is squaring your Sun. That's why there's a lot of different indications of why you should slow down, Taurus, and concentrate on improving your health, which may not be, you could have been under stress, and it may not be in the best shape right now. And even if people don't notice that in your outer social life, if you're feeling under par, either mentally or emotionally or physically, this is the time for you just to sort of slow down a little bit and concentrate on that. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, you are the beneficiary of a grand trine in the air signs. That's nice, Gemini, because you have Uranus at 1 degree in your sign. It's moving forward. It's not going to stay in your sign. It'll be back in Taurus for 1 more year by the fall. And then next year it's coming into your sign, Gemini, and that is the start of 7 of the happiest years of your life. However, it's there now, And it is being trined beautifully by Pluto in Aquarius. Well, Uranus rules Aquarius. This is the first time in 20 years that Uranus has been trining its own sun sign. That's really good for Pluto in Aquarius, and it's really good for you too, Gemini, because Uranus is in your sign. But so is Venus, and Venus has now moved up to the 29th degree of fate in your sign. So there is some sort of a relationship that may be a relationship that's been in conflict lately, or a legal matter, or a partnership issue, or a contract issue that can be in conflict because Mars has been in Virgo squaring that Venus, and last week they were both at exactly 22 degrees. Well, this week Mars has moved up to 29 or 25 degrees of Virgo, and Venus is at 29 degrees, the degree of fate in your sign. And so there can be some conflict going in your life, in a relationship, or in a contract, or in a partnership, or something like that. And I think that this is a time when you need to decide if something is on or over. And actually, Gemini, it could go either way. You are benefiting from 4 planets in a grand trine in air signs. There are ideas that you probably have. Geminis are full of ideas, and of course your sign rules communication, so you're really good at that. Rules public relations. And so if you were going to quietly sit down and think of an inspirational idea or plan, perhaps that you've had for quite a long time, and approach people who are sort of high up in management that are looking for new ideas and they're looking for new leaders, you might be able to talk yourself into something pretty nice right now, Gemini. But at the same time, before you do that, you should resolve a conflict in a relationship or regarding a contract, and that would be a business contract, and you should end it. Because if you don't end it, it's just going to get worse. It'll get stalemated, or it'll never go anywhere. Mars and Venus are too closely squaring each other, and they have been. And if it regards a health matter, you need to get that health matter taken care of quickly, Gemini, so that nothing else slows you down from your wonderful future. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, yours is a cardinal sign, and you do have the exalted Jupiter in your sign, Cancer. Lucky you, it's going to be there for a whole year. However, the moon in Libra is squaring that right now, and let me see. Saturn and Neptune in Aries are also squaring it. Okay, and so Saturn and Neptune in Aries are retrograde, and they're going to eventually head back into Pisces later on this year. And when they do, they'll be trining that Jupiter in your sign. That will be awfully good for you, Cancer. But for right now, with this harsh T-cross in the cardinal signs, I think that you're going to have to resolve something and decide whether it's on and going to go forward and progress, or whether it didn't really pan out well enough to warrant that. And the reason why is that with this harsh T-cross that does affect your sign and the exalted Jupiter in your sign, you could be interested in making a move. This is a good year for you to do it too. And possibly adding someone new to your family. And there would be people around that would be grudgingly not accepting of it, but trying to stop that or slow it down or hinder it in some way. And so it's lucky that you have Jupiter in your sign this year, Cancer, because you may have to undergo a heavy lift to get something off the ground that represents a very fond dream of yours. And I don't think you should care what other people say or do about it. Just if you are intent on perhaps moving a little bit closer to where you grew up, or paying a little bit more attention to the values that your parents wanted you to have, and moving back to something that is more solid in your life, and also perhaps adding a new member to your family as you do that. I would say keep going, Cancer, because the only exalted planet in the heavens happens to be in your sign. you are going to make it. Even if it is a heavy lift, even if you have to get people around you that are saying, "Oh, why are you doing that?" or "Why now?" or they can be picky, or they can be critical, and you got to just tune them out, Cancer. They don't have Jupiter in their sign, you do. And so this is your year, Cancer. You need to go forward. And if you're adding a new person to your family, that could be perfectly fine. Whoever is trying to be jealous and spread rumors or stop that in some way, they're just going to run out of steam. One, because they're not being very nice, and two, you have to trust your own self and your own heart. And that's all you have to trust. Because, boy, this is a year to do it, Cancer. You know what you're doing this year. You really do. And you can just tune out whatever anybody else says and go forward anyway. But it will be a heavy lift right now. Well, that's fine. Most people appreciate what they work for, or what they've longed for, or what they've waited for. And it means that they have to put so much effort into making it successful that they really treasure it. And then the victory or the treasure is all theirs. So you could be moving into something that really fits you better, Cancer. And it might be with a person that makes you very happy. And this is the year when that could happen for you. So keep that in mind. And if a very fond dream of yours hasn't come true yet, well then you got to do a heavy lift and work a little harder on that, Cancer, because it really could come true. And you just need to keep the faith. So good luck. All right, what does it mean to a Leo? Oh, Leo. Well, the sun today is at 8 degrees in your sign, and Mercury, which is retrograde, is at 10 degrees. Mercury's going to go backward, and the sun's going to go forward, and tomorrow they'll both be at the 9th degree, which is a number that indicates finishing. And so since there is an opposition to your sign right now, Leo, and it is that Pluto in Aquarius at 2 degrees is opposing the Sun and Mercury in your sign. And so people who are new, they're in new leadership roles, and they want to do new things, and they're looking for new people that can carry out inspirational ideas right now. They may be challenging you right now, Leo, because you might want to stick to a well-proven record of success of your own. And I think instead, though, you're going to have to rethink your plans. And the reason why is Mercury is retrograde, and it is conjuncting your Sun. And Saturn and Neptune are the only two planets that are trining your Sun, and they're both retrograde. 3 out of the 4 planets are retrograde in fire signs. You've got to really go back and rethink something, Leo. And it might not be a bad idea for you to slow down a little bit right now. And that is because Mars is in Virgo right ahead of your Sun sign. And Virgo rules health. And I mean, that's where the Sun's going next. It's going into Virgo. And Mercury's going to do that too eventually. And you need to think a little bit more about what I would call the quality of life. Your life, Leo. You need to think about the quality of your life, how much stress you can handle. You may have been very successful in prior years, but that doesn't mean you have to do that till the day you die. It can mean that you could be, if you stopped and stood back a little bit now and thought about where you are today and where you want to go tomorrow and how much it's going to cost or how much energy it's going to take from you, you might start to change your mind on a few things. You might think that, a great idea is wonderful right up until you figure out how much time it's going to take you, or how much it's going to cost, or how much work is involved. And at this time in your life, you may not really feel like doing that anymore. You may have been there and done that. Okay? So this is a time when something's going to separate from you, Leo. And it's probably going to be people who want to go forward with new ideas and new leadership. And you might be ending up thinking you're lucky stars that they're going to do that, Leo. And sure, they would be leaving you behind. But on the other hand, maybe That would be the best thing that ever happened to you, because you'd have more time to yourself. And you'd be more in control of your own happiness. And you wouldn't have to listen to other people telling you what to do. You could set your own schedule. And you might have enough money to just sort of, as long as you kept your costs low, your sign rules extravagance. But if you just sort of cut your costs pretty low, you might have a wonderful life just being yourself, Leo, or just doing things a little bit at a time, or part-time instead of full-time. So I hope that you think about that, because there is going to be a parting of the ways somewhere. But if you realize that that's a blessing in disguise, and that is leaving you free to rest, it's leaving you free to decide what you want to do with your life without anybody else telling you what to do, that's pretty nice, Leo. So think of the benefits of having a little bit more time to yourself, and how you can use that more productively, and how that can make you happy in the end. That might be a heavy lift for you right now, just to think of how to change things in your life so that you are more in control of your own time. And that itself can be a blessing. Independence is a blessing. Even if you were involved with other people, it would at least be on your own schedule. And that would be important. It may even prolong your life. So good luck. All right, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time, Virgo, with Mars still in your sign at the 25th degree and closely squaring Venus in Gemini at the 29th degree of fate, that some relationship or contract or partnership or some deal is either on or over, and I think it's over. So there could have been conflict in relationships already. Mars has been in your sign for a while, Virgo, and you could have, Virgos like to look at the details, and they like to have everything add up, and you could have been feeling that things are not adding up. Whether you're right or not, we all have to deal with other people in our lives. And it can be that someone else is deciding that they just don't want to deal with small facts, and they don't want to argue anymore. It could be even that your health is being threatened by some undue stress in your life. And don't you think it would be a good idea to end the stress, Virgo? I do, because Virgos worry when there isn't even any stress around. They always worry. They're very factual and detail-oriented. Your sign rules analysis. You tend to like to look at everything, all the details, the whole picture. But in doing that, you could concentrate so much on the details that you lose the big picture, that you don't even see the big picture. And that could be happening right now because Mars in your sign, which can put you in sort of bad health. In other words, if there is a problem with your health insurance, or there's a health problem that you have, it may be a little bit self-inflicted. It could be something that you are doing to yourself that you know isn't healthy, but you're doing it anyway because you want to. That would be sort of a Mars attitude, my way or nothing. Well, that might be hurting your health, Virgo. You need to step back and realize that you can't be all things to all people. And so something's got to end. And actually, for instance, if you were at a point in time, Virgo, where you may have gained a lot of experience in things, and you may still be having to deal with younger people. That's what Gemini represents, and they have the energy, or they have all the great ideas, or they want to head off in new directions and not even listen to you as much as they used to. Then that's a relationship that has to end because you would no longer be in control of it. And it's okay if people go off on their own. It's okay if they think their future is going to be better in a different direction. It's their choice, and you should respect that. On the other hand, if there is a health problem, whether it's a mental health problem or a physical health problem or a psychological problem, that is causing you a lot of worry right now, you need to just address that, Virgo, and let everything else go. You have no support from any other planets in the earth signs because there's nothing in Capricorn and there's nothing in Taurus. So you're on your own, and you really have to think a little bit more about, okay, well, what's good for me now? And I would say you just can't be all things to all people. You can't even have all the answers, because even if you were right, Virgo, some people, particularly young people, well, they like, excuse me, they like to try things out for themselves. And if they fall flat, they'll pick themselves up. Well, that's what young people do. And that's what you did, Virgo. You know, we've all made false starts this year. But it could be that you have wanted to have all the answers for everybody. And this is a better time for you to look at your own problems and see which ones have been caused by you. And if you've caused some health problems of your own, this is a very good time for you to withdraw a little bit. Realize that you can't be all things to all people. So some conflicting relationships are over. That would be for the best, because you need to concentrate on your own good health and your own peace of mind. And this is the time to do it, because it isn't going to get better until you work on it just by yourself. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Oh, Libra, you have the moon in your sign today. A lot of light on you, Libra. And your sign is an air sign, so it's part of a grand trine in the air signs right now, which means that Pluto is in Aquarius trining your sun, which it's going to be doing for years. And it is retrograde at 2 degrees, but it doesn't leave Aquarius. It's not going back in Capricorn. It's going to keep, whether it's going forward or backward, it's going to keep trining your sun, Libra. And then Uranus is also trining your sun at 1 degree of Gemini. And then Venus, your own ruler, is trining your sun at the 29th degree of Fate. So it's trining that moon in your sign as well at the 29th degree of Fate. Some relationship, and it could be really involving two relationships. One that is truly over, and another that might be on in some way. Gemini rules 2 of everything, and the moon's trining Venus. And so I think that this is a time when you should try to take the long view of something, Libra, if you can. And that might be a little bit hard for you, because Gemini doesn't rule the long view of anything. Geminis like change. Easy transitional change. They like moving from one neighborhood to another. They like making new friends wherever they go. And they're good at that because they're conversational and they have a million good ideas. And so they're public oriented. And these two good planets, Uranus and Venus, your own ruler, are in Gemini trining the moon in your sign, and Pluto is trining the moon in your sign. Well, the moon rules our feelings. And so this is a very good time for you, Libra, to sort of search in your heart and ask yourself who you have the deepest feelings about. Who do you really care about? And I hope it's somebody that has your best interests at heart, but also is the kind of person that has new ideas and is looking toward the future. And I hope that's the direction you're going into, Libra. Because you don't need to stay stuck in the past. Jupiter in Cancer is actually squaring your sun. There could be a home or a real estate matter that either needs to be reworked or dropped in one way or another, just because you may not need it right now, or it might be that you need extra money for one reason or another, maybe to start something new, so you want to sell something instead. That would be fine. And so this is a very good time for you to think, since all the air signs are conceptual, just to sort of think of, well, what is your fondest dream? Where do you wish you were? And how are you going to get there? And who's going to pay for it? No, maybe that's too many things to think about all at once. But Libra, you're partnership oriented. And so this is a very good time with a grand trine in the air signs for you to follow some sort of inspirational idea or a dream of yours that may involve a partnership or a contract or a move of some sort, something that would make you settle down and be happier. And it doesn't mean there wouldn't be a heavy lift to that. That would require change, and that would require work from you. But Libras are not only charming, they're pretty talented. They're artistic. They're good talkers. They can communicate well. And so Libra, you are right on the verge of being able to move forward and follow a dream if you want to. And it looks like the door is open for you to do that with the grand trine in the air signs. And so no matter how many excuses you give yourself, Libra, you'd be slamming the door to your future right in your face if you didn't go forward now and try something new. You can do it. It might be brand new. Might be something that nobody else has thought of. But I think that if it involved an easy transitional change, if it involved a new partner, if it involved future ideas of yours that you sort of want to work on a little bit more, I think that there's a very good chance you would be successful now. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, this is a time, Scorpio, when you can sort of be caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. And the reason why is because there are 3 planets in the fixed signs and they oppose each other. Well, yours is a fixed sign, but there aren't any planets in your sign and there aren't any planets in Taurus. And so these 3 planets are all squaring your sun. So Pluto, which is your own ruler, is at 2 degrees retrograde in Aquarius right now, and it's squaring your sun. And then the sun is at 10 degrees today, and retrograde Mercury is at 8 degrees in Leo, and they're squaring your sun as well. Notice that 2 of these planets out of the 3 are retrograde and squaring your sun. And so there's a possibility that if you were wanting to start something new, or you wanted to follow a fond dream of yours, and Pisces rules dreams, and that trines your sign, and the exalted Jupiter in Cancer is also trining your sun right now, Scorpio. So if you went that route, if you looked through your life and what you were doing, and then you asked yourself a very important question, which is, what do you wish you were doing, and who do you wish it was with? That would give you, the answer to those questions would give you a really good idea of how you could get through a lot of challenges and even have to do some sort of heavy lifting to make a move, or even have a new member of your family come into your family. You know it could work for you, Scorpio. And the reason why is the only exalted planet is Jupiter, and it's in the sign of moving Cancer and trining your sun. And Cancer also rules family. And so, despite the jealous, grudging, vindictive criticism and stalling tactics of other people who may not want to see you make a move that's just right for you, possibly back to a child where you grew up in your childhood, or something that reminds you a little bit more of your parents' influence on you, you could do it, Scorpio. And on top of that, you could add somebody new to your family, which would give you a little bit more emotional security. That's always a good idea. And, you would be happy. It's just other people who thought that they could control you, well, they would be a little bit unhappy. But what do you care? You don't need to care about them. They're doing things that are sort of spiteful anyway. And they could be criticizing you or your choices or your move or a new member of the family. And if I were you, I'd just turn a deaf ear to them. Don't pay any attention to them, Scorpio. It's not their life, it's your life that's important. And somebody else's. That represents some very fond dream of yours that you could make come true. And even if it was a heavy lift. The things that we work for and that we dream about most are the ones that we cherish for the rest of our lives. They're always something that's in our heart, not in our bank account, not in our friends, not in the neighborhood we live in, but just in our heart. And those are the things that bring us happiness and contentment. And everybody wants that, including you, Scorpio. This is a very good time for you to go for it, even if it is a heavy lift. whatever involves the heavy lift. Moving's no fun, but if you moved, that's fine, that's a heavy lift. If you add somebody new to your family and other people are having a hard time getting used to that, fine. That's a heavy lift for them. It's not a heavy lift for you. Do you see what I mean? You don't have to be responsible for things other people are saying or thinking or doing. You just have to be responsible for what's in your own heart. And you have an exalted planet trining your sun. And that's not going to happen again for years. So this is the year for you to make your move. And if you had to add somebody new to your family, or you had to move back to something that represents the influence of your parents, and that would be of your lineage. You know, it represents time and the things that you value over time. And so I think that you could do that. And if there is a heavy lift due to the other people that want to get in your way, forget about them, tune them out. You can do it. Your sign rules discipline, Scorpio. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarian? Well, Sagittarius. This is a time, Sagittarius, when I do think that no matter what your fondest wish is, you might have to tweak it a little bit in one way or another, because there are 4 planets in the fire signs. There's nothing in your sign, Sagittarius, but you do have the Sun and a retrograde Mercury trining your Sun, and Saturn and Neptune are retrograde in Aries, and they too are trining your Sun. But 3 of those planets out of the 4 are retrograde, which means you're going to have to go back to the drawing board, Sagittarius, and redo something. Now the Moon is in Libra, it sextiles your Sun, so it could be a partnership or a legal contract, something like that, that needs to be reworked or redone. Well, you're a smart person, Sagittarius, you can do that. There may be some legal matter that you're involved with that has not been to your liking. And maybe you agreed to it initially for one reason or another, but over time you can see that, gee, you're the one that's the victim, you're the one that's being taken advantage of, and you might want to try to fix that, Sagittarius, while you can. And if you're wanting to start something new, you might have to go ahead and think about how you could approach something new in a little different way, sort of coming at it from a different viewpoint or a different angle. You could try that, Sagittarius. That might work. Those 2 planets are retrograde, but they do trine your Sun. So maybe you just need to go back and dust off an old idea and give that another try. Maybe that could work for you. Something that you always wanted to do but just never got around to. Maybe you could do that now. Because Uranus and Venus in Gemini are opposing your Sun sign, indicating a separation. That separation would involve some sort of contentious relationship, because Mars in Virgo is also squaring your Sun, and it's squaring the planets in Gemini. So there are planets in the mutable signs that are causing you problems, Sagittarius, and I think if you sorted through the different problems at different times, you might be able to conclude that somebody was taking advantage of you, and they found a way to do it. They found a way to sort of needle you into agreeing to something they wanted that wasn't going to do you any good at all. And you might have said yes to that. This is a year of false starts. And you could be regretting that right now. And that is why, if you went back to the drawing board and started thinking about how you could come at something from a little different angle that would be more favorable to you, you might be able to do that. And I would give that a try if I were you. Because there are planets that are squaring and opposing your Sun sign, but there's other planets that are trining your Sun sign. So I think you just need to think a little bit about how could I get out of a bad contentious situation or a legal contract that's not doing me any good, and then how could I move forward after that. So I think you need to end something, Sagittarius, and at the same time you could have a good motive for that, because you may want to start to go in a new direction, which you could do, and it might be a direction you had wanted to go in before. Okay, so what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, this is a time, Capricorn, when I think that there's only one planet trining your sun, and it's Mars in Virgo, but it is under severe duress because it's part of 3 planets in mutable signs that are all squaring each other. That Mars is actually squaring Venus, indicating that a contentious relationship is either on or over. It looks to me like it's over, or a partnership is over, or some legal contract is over, or even a truce is over. I don't know if you're directly involved with that or not, Capricorn, but that's around. You could know about that. And then Uranus is in Gemini, and it is squaring that Mars as well, and those are 2 malefic planets. And so Mars is the only planet that's trining your sun, and it's in a heap of trouble right now. And so I would say it might relate to your health, since Mars is in Virgo, and Virgo rules health. And it might involve a relationship that you have with somebody where you're getting health care from them, and maybe you don't really want to go back to that. Maybe you'd like to change that or improve that or get better care from somebody else. Oh, maybe you could do that, Capricorn. There's nothing wrong with testing the waters and seeing if there's something better out there for you. That would be fine. Jupiter in Cancer is opposing your sun sign, and it's going to be doing that for the next year. And so you may be really wanting to make some sort of a move, but it would be a heavy lift, and you may not, perhaps due to your health condition, you may not do that eagerly right now. Even if you wanted to do it, you might think, oh gee, no, I've got to wait, or I've got to get ready, or it's going to be a lot of work. You know, you could give yourself a million good excuses for not making a move, but I would say that there are times when a planet is opposing your sun sign, that particularly when it's Jupiter, when it represents something that could be brought to you if you'd only reach out a little bit more for it. And if you are, you know, in a retirement, your sign rules retirement. If you are retired already and the cost of living wherever you are is getting a little bit high, you might want to think of how to redo your investments so that you could make a move eventually. And maybe this is the year to look around for that, or to redo a real estate matter in some way that is more beneficial to you, Capricorn. That would be a good idea. You don't have to rush. Capricorns don't like to rush anyway. But Saturn, your own ruler, and Neptune are both retrograde in Aries, which rules new beginnings, and they're squaring your sun sign. And so you may want to make a new beginning, but there's always a reason or something sort of blocking you from doing that. And they are about to leave. They're at 2 degrees of Aries today, and they are headed back into Pisces. When they get back into Pisces, which will be by the end of the summer, then they are going to be sextiling your sun. So Capricorn, my advice to you is don't give up on anything right now, particularly a fond dream of yours. Don't give up on it. Okay, might not look too good right now, the possibility of it coming true, but don't give up on it, because there will be a total lunar eclipse in Pisces, and that will sextile your sun as well. And remember, even though Jupiter is opposing your sun sign in Cancer, it can bring you good things, but you have to sort of reach out for them. And that could be the heavy lift. But nobody's getting any younger here, Capricorn. It's your sign that's going to live to be 100. You got the time to do a heavy lift and have some future happiness. Just don't give up on anything right now. Yours is a very practical sign. But not everything is practical. Wishes aren't. Anybody can make a wish or have a dream. And if I were you, if you're thinking of one in the future, I would not let it go, Capricorn. You just keep your eyes on it. See what happens. Take your time. And try to reach out in ways that can improve your health right now. Because it's sort of looking like that's what you need to do. Either improve your mental health or your physical health. So good luck. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius. This is a time, Aquarius, when you can be in 7th heaven, and the reason why is that there's a grand trine in the air signs, and your own ruler for the first time in 20 years is trining your sun sign. So Aquarius, you're about to blast off for parts unknown, I am sure. And if it isn't you that's going to do that, because Pluto is retrograde in your sign, it is somebody else who is in upper management and that has spotted your creativeness, or they've spotted your talent in one way or another, and they think you should be heading off in the future, and maybe they would have some good advice or a way to help you get there, Aquarius. And that's because the moon in Libra is trining your sun, so there could be a new partner around for you, Aquarius, because they're trining Pluto in your sun sign. And then Uranus, your own ruler, for the first time in 20 years, is trining your sun, along with Venus, which is at the 29th degree of fate and is being heartily squared by Mars in Virgo. And so there is a relationship somewhere in your life, Aquarius, that's either on or over. I think it's over. And Aquarius, that's one of the best things that would ever happen to you. Don't regret it. And the reason why is that there's so much better things ahead of you. And for the next 15 years, they're going to be there the whole time, 15 or 17 years while Pluto is in your sun sign. But when Uranus, which is your own ruler, it's trining your sun now, but it's going to go back in Taurus for another year. And it'll be next year that it comes into Gemini and then trines your sun for 7 years. That's what you need to get ready for, Aquarius, because those are going to be the happiest 7 years of your life. And you really are going into the future. Doesn't matter what age you are. Young, old, or in between, you're headed into the future, Aquarius, and you will be doing it under your own power, and that is the power of truth. The truth about how much you can stand, how much you want to do, how much everything's going to cost. You should have some real good talks with yourself for years to come, because you're the person that's going to come up with some very good answers that will benefit you, Aquarius. And so this is a very good time for you. Even if you're seeking different opinions from people, in the end, you're the one that's got to make a decision, and you should be listening to your own heart, because it won't cross you up at all for the next 15 or so years while Pluto is in your sign. Pluto rules deep truth, and it rules regeneration, and it rules transformation and change, and all that's headed your way, so good luck. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time, Pisces, when you know a push has come to shove, Pisces, and the reason why something can be a heavy lift for you, I think, is because something else is over. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are 3 planets in the mutable signs all squaring, they're squaring each other, and they are squaring your sign as well. And that is because Mars in Virgo is squaring your sign, Pisces. There isn't anything in your sign, but the lucky north node of the moon is there and will be for about another year. And that means that in the background of your life, there's a lucky friend around somewhere in your life, Pisces. Maybe nobody knows about them, but they're there. But anyway, Mars in Virgo is it's opposing your sun sign, and that simply means that if you have a health problem, you've got to get it solved. The longer you wait, the more expensive it will be, so don't do that. Just go ahead, and it could be that something has been worrying you a lot. Maybe you need to get some consultation about whatever's worrying you, Pisces, because maybe it's not as bad as you think. It just seems pretty bad. Okay, well, we know that a heavy lift means that whatever inspired idea or new plan or dream that we have is going to take work, because other people or opposing forces will be trying to stop it. And the heavy lift means that you just got to keep going no matter what. Well, you sure do, Pisces, because Mars opposing your sun sign means that there could be people that are angry at you and wanting to blame you for their own faults or disappointments that they have generated themselves. But they are saying, it's all your fault. Well, no, it isn't. Each one of us is responsible for ourselves. That means the people that are calling you names and telling you that it's your fault for whatever's going wrong with them, they're off in la-la land. You need to get away from those people. They're mentally unbalanced. They do not know what they're doing or saying, and they refuse to take responsibility for their own mistakes. Well, let them go. And it's quite true that there could be contentious relationships that are over for you now, Pisces. And another reason why is that Uranus is in Gemini squaring your sun, and so is Venus at the 29th degree of fate, meaning that some relationship or legal partnership or contract is on or over, but Mars is squaring those two planets, and they're squaring your sign as well, and I think something is simply over. It's over because it's either not your fault, Pisces, or it's over because it didn't work out. And nice as you were about things and as accepting as you were about something, in the cold hard light of dawn, you know it's not right for you. And so it's over. It's not on the right terms. It can be that a lot of people were saying that things were your fault if you didn't do things their way. Okay, well that sounds to me like that's domination, controlling, and never taking responsibility for themselves, but making you do everything. You know, you got to get away from that, Pisces. That's not going to bring you any joy. That's not going to make you happy unless you are always under somebody's foot. And they're the ones that are clamping down on you, telling you what to do. Oh, Pisces, your sign rules dreams. Your sign rules hope and aspirations. Your sign rules wanting a better world for people. And Jupiter in Cancer is trining your sun for a whole year. And so you've got to do something, Pisces, that will get you a better home life. And there are some relationships that are over now. They were contentious anyway. You don't need to pay attention to them anymore because they weren't fulfilling you anyway. And every person, including you, Pisces, has a right to be happy. But happiness is different for each of us. Some things make some people happy and other things make other people happy. And so if you're honest and true about what makes you happy, which could have a lot to do with your home life or moving somewhere that is a little closer to where you grew up, or the influence that your parents had on you with that Jupiter in Cancer trining your sun, it means that there could be a good ending in your life right now, Pisces, and it would be like lightening your load, getting rid of something that was too heavy for you anyway, because it's really over. And you don't have to be under somebody else's thumb anymore. And you know it. So go ahead, even if it requires a heavy lift to make a dream come true in your future, go for it, Pisces. You have Jupiter trining your sun for a whole year, and it's exalted. It's like having 10 Jupiters trine your sun. So were you thinking that you'd run out of good luck if you did have a heavy lift? Did you think that even if it was a heavy lift, you were going to drop your load? You're not going to drop it, Pisces. You're going to do fine. And if it is a heavy lift, that means that you have to put a little more effort into it, and that just makes your happiness greater when you're done. Happiness isn't something that's handed to you. Happiness comes from following the real truth in your heart and finding somebody else to share that with. That's what happiness is. It comes from people who are compatible with you, not forcing you to do things. And so good luck, Pisces. And thanks so much for everyone for tuning in to the show. Thank you for the new subscribers, and I hope you tell your friends about STARBORN, and I'll see you right back here next week. Thanks a lot. Bye.